Okay, school board, go for it.
Matt, thank you very much. It is, we have just been, good evening, everybody. We were just in, where am I looking? We were just in executive session prior to this where we were reviewing some personnel, filling out personnel items that are needing a new hire. Who's here with us this evening. So I would like to call the meeting to order at this time. And Linda,
I think Julie is doing roll call. Or?
Yeah, I could do roll call.
Great, Julie, you can do roll call.
Barbara Dayton. Tim Frazier.
Here.
Dave Conlon.
Here.
Amy Rivera.
Here.
Pat Brabant.
Here.
Thank you very much. And if we could all rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are going to be starting this evening with our work session for a little bit. I see that we have Dr. Schoenfeld with us up there. We're going to go through this other agenda for a bit, so our subject on mask is going to come a little bit later, just FYI. Or
you want to lift mask to work session? You can do that.
Actually, we're going to move the subject of mask to the work session agenda.
Let me give an update, and then Dr. Schoenfeld can weigh in. Can you hear us, Dr. Schoenfeld? So currently, it appears that school districts will not receive guidance on reopening plans from the New York State Department of Health. For the last 18 months, school districts have received their guidance from the New York State Department of Health. This morning, I was on a Zoom call with my colleagues on the east end of Long Island, as well as Suffolk County Department of Health. Guidance from Suffolk County Department of Health is expected shortly and is anticipated to include the following. And I asked Dr. Schoenfeld to be here to weigh in. Suffolk County Department of Health will endorse, will be similar to the CDC and the AAP, which is the American Pediatrics Association. Universal masking indoors regardless of vaccination status. Physical distance indoors of 3 feet regardless of vaccination status. Close contact is expected to be defined as less than 3 feet. Reporting requirements for positive cases and close contacts are expected to remain the same. Transportation on buses return to full capacity with masking, windows open. Vaccination status of faculty, staff, and students. There is a way to record the vaccination status. Only our nurses have access to that, so that would be helpful to us. And they're recommending immunization for all individuals that are age appropriate. This is what we know, that there is a rise in Suffolk County. Positivity rate is under the substantial. It's still in a low rate, but it is climbing. And Suffolk County has one of the higher vaccination rates, but East Hampton is higher. East Hampton's at 75% vaccination rate. So we've done a good job there. Thanks to Dr. Schoenfeld and her team. I can't thank you enough for everything you did. It was such a large undertaking, and I was glad to be a part of that. East Hampton Town will be following the CDC guidelines. East Hampton School District will be following the CDC guidelines, which again means that everybody will be masked. Springs did sign up to be part of the Suffolk County Department of Health testing should the need arise, should our members in East Hampton Town go up, or our members in our school or community go up. We will be agreeing to have a mobile unit here to do testing. What we can agree on, everyone, is that in-person learning is required. The mental health of our students has to be a priority. 40% of our parents nationally have reported mental health issues of teenage children have worsened. All it needs is just one student to be hurting. And we know how seriously that can impact a family or a community. Once again, I recommend to the district that we consult with Fire Science, who was very helpful in doing our original plan. We discovered a format that we really like today, so Mike will be calling together the Health and Safety Committee probably before your next meeting, where we work on a template that identifies low risk, medium risk, high risk, and what the district will do. I will ask Dr. Schoenfeld to be part of that committee again to help us make those recommendations. Our parents will be encouraged to keep their children home when they're sick. I recommend right now to the board that as we move forward, we follow the CDC guidelines and wait on the Department of Health guidelines, which are forthcoming. We anticipate being able to space our children out 3 feet apart and bring back some of our furniture. We're lucky that our children have lunch in a classroom and not in a cafeteria, so that's not an issue for us. Our small instructional spaces are not so small. They're a real nice size in our new addition. Our new space is going to help tremendously in spacing out. Discussion this morning was, do we put the line back in the middle of the hallway for the left side and the right side? I said, well, they're going to be littler children, so let's see how it goes. If we're going to really need to run a piece of green tape down the hallway, the bigger students are going to be in your new addition, so we'll play that by ear. The reopening plan will be revised, as I said, and be presented to the Board of Education on the 23rd for their adoption. If you read anything in the documents that I've listed on the agenda, they talk about policy. It's not policy. I've clarified that with our attorneys. It's the reopening plan that must be certified by the Board of Education. Dr. Schoenfeld, did I miss anything? Your recommendation?
Nothing so far.
Are you available on the 19th? I know you're busy.
The 19th of August.
Yes.
I am working all day. I probably won't finish till 7 or 8 o'clock at night. When is this meeting?
Probably looking at a 10 o'clock start, but what I can do is send you the format that we're thinking about and get your input, and I can share it with the community.
I'll try.
Okay. I'll get it out to you shortly. So do you have any recommendations for us regarding masks? Out of 16 districts today, there is maybe one that will be looking at the COVID rates regarding whether they mask or not mask. Is your recommendation to start the school year with mask and see what the positivity rate is?
I don't think there's anybody who's saying that it's recommended to not mask. And the general philosophy is for whatever decrease in transmissions that it causes, it's a good thing. My concern is that up until now, people have had a choice of in-person versus remote. And what are you going to do about the people who refuse?
To come back to school?
No, to wear a mask.
To wear a mask?
Yeah. What are you going to do about the families where the parents say, I refuse? I'm sending my kid to school, but I'm refusing to put them in a mask. What are you going to do about that?
Can individual school districts mandate mask wearing at the start?
Yes. That's the direction that we're getting.
So then they can't attend school if they refuse? Is that what you're going to do? Or are you going to offer them an option of remote, which you're not supposed to do?
We're not supposed to offer an option of remote unless a child is sick and compromised. Those children would offer home hospital instruction.
When kids get sent home because they need to quarantine because of exposure, would they be able to learn remotely? Is that still going to be an option?
We have to provide instruction for a student that's going to be out for a significant amount of time. Our teachers have always given them work and
Due to
checked
illness
in.
on their
Yes.
part.
So if it was a quarantine classroom, that classroom would be remote.
Quarantining classrooms probably will not happen. It'll probably be those in close contact.
So if there's 5 students, then
Right.
will those 5 students be receiving remote?
Remote
education?
instruction of some sort, right? It's
Some-
not going to be live instruction.
Won't be a full curriculum.
Correct.
Could be with the 2 hours a day that
Right.
they're supposed to have.
Right.
Right.
It sounds like parents are going to have to make that decision. You know, the school's there for them and their children. And,
No, it's
just like a vaccination, you know, it's mandated by the state that you can't come to school unless you have your vaccination. So I think the same thing is with the mask. If it's mandated by the state that, you know, by the district that you have to wear a mask at school, then students have to do that, or they just can't come to school.
And whatever the student that, family decides now to wear a mask, then whatever belief they have, we're required to educate those students about going to off.
No, not if the school mandates, we mandate that they have to wear masks.
It's just like with vaccinations, the parent has to make that decision.
If a parent
Well, the
doesn't
vaccine is
vaccinate their
FDA approved, correct? And the vaccine is not, does that have something to play with it?
I'm talking about the other vaccines that are.
Yeah, the standard vaccination, yeah, it's like, that's what, I know the standard vaccination plan right now.
I can't predict what's going to happen with this.
No, no one said that's the question that the parents going to ask. If I decide not to send my student, they mandated we wear a mask, and then that's also the same thing. What do we tell parents? You can't send your child to school without a mask?
can't send your child to school without a mask if we mandate it. It's part of our plan, just like our plan indicated 6 feet apart, desk shields and masks the last time. This would be our plan again going forward, at least for right now. I mean, things changed rapidly this summer. The increase in positivity rate has really increased, and children are getting sick. Are they getting seriously sick? No, but they're getting sick. And then the other concern I have is that the testing lines are very long. People are waiting 4 to 6 hours to get tested. So is a parent really going to take their child to be tested? Or are they just going to keep them home and say they have a cold and then send them back and they infect the class if they're again? We did not see the flu. We did not see some of the other viruses last year with the mask on. I know it's not ideal. I know it's not what we anticipated, but this is serious. BOCES ran a summer regional program for over 1,100 students, and they had to close one of their programs because of the positivity rate that they saw. Their comments today was, in 17 months, they did not have the positivity rate that they had in the last 2 weeks. That's significant. And the vaccination rate really does help. I don't know what school community that was, but she did say that vaccination rate was under the county percent. And we're lucky East Hampton's at 75%, but the majority of our students, over 90% of our students are not vaccinated. And they're under the age of 12, so they can't be vaccinated at this time.
And how are we going to handle our attendance issue if we're encouraging parents to keep their kids home if they show any symptoms or signs? Because some people will send them so that they don't have that absence and don't fall in that category of too many absences and you're at risk of,
We'll have to look at that very carefully, and they're going to have to call in and tell us that the child is sick or they went to the doctors and they have a note. So excuse and unexcused. I have to say our attendance rate was at 95% last year. I had John Gibbons check it several times.
That was on remote though, correct? Remote is
Because
not easy to be
we
done.
provided instruction when the kids were not in school. Yes.
It was remote.
What we are seeing now in the last month or so is a rapid increase in respiratory tract infections unrelated to COVID. Respiratory syncytial virus is raging. We've had several hospitalizations in the last week or two. And this is not the same as it was last year. These kids are now socializing. They're spreading germs more than ever before. I think we have a large cohort of children who have missed a season's worth of respiratory infections, and now things are more contagious than ever, and we're not able to keep pace. I mean, the summer crowd is here. I don't know if they're ever going to leave, and now we're seeing more infections than even normal, and trying to get kids in to test them and doing doctor's notes, we're not able to, meet the demand. We just can't do it.
And you said that was non-COVID related, respiratory?
Yeah, respiratory syncytial virus, parainfluenza virus, Coxsackie virus, all the stuff that we didn't see last winter, we're seeing now. I don't know what this winter is going to bring. The incidence of influenza last winter was 1/200th of normal. And I think we've got a large cohort of susceptibles. I think we're going to have a horrible flu season. I am very concerned about how sick children are going to get, and it's not just COVID. And if they have to stay home or get a doctor's note or get tested every time they have a respiratory virus, I think it's going to overwhelm the system. And I think you'll find a lot of parents doing just like you said, not waiting online for 4 hours, or I don't know if we have to send them out, not getting results back for a week, and the whole time they have to stay at home with their cold. I think there's going to be a lot of absenteeism.
So is sending people in, if kids have something like that, their parents send them in, is the rest of the school more protected if they do have to wear a mask when they're in here, or is there a problem with, wearing a mask when they're sick?
I don't know, if a kid has a runny nose and they're 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, what are they going to do?
Good question.
And how accurate are the, I know you buy COVID test over the counter now, like CVS and Rite Aid don't sell them, the rapid test nasal swab. How accurate are they?
I honestly have no idea about that, and I don't know if they're PCR tests or rapid antigen tests, and I don't know how quickly they get processed. I mean, there's send-away tests that you can buy, and then there's do it yourself at home test. If you're doing it yourself at home, it's not a PCR test.
No, it's the one that they started doing for a Boy Scout trip. We had to test all the Boy Scouts for nasal swabs prior to going, and then send the results up to Rhode Island. And it was a 15-minute test. We bought it over the counter.
Yeah, that would be the antigen tests, and they're not as sensitive as the PCRs, and specimen collection is also an issue. I don't know how far up the nose those people are getting when they do it at home. The antigen tests are a better sensitivity when you're talking about somebody who's symptomatic at the height of their infection and spewing virus in large amounts, but asymptomatic contact exposure, that sort of thing, not anywhere near as sensitive. They're going to miss some. But yes, if the kid's got a cold and they take a test at home, I don't know, maybe they didn't take the test and they just said they did.
Well, like you were saying, again, the doctors, we're assuming that most parents are honest, and kid has a runny nose, or the flu, which we know is coming up, and they do rapid test and it comes up negative. Is that acceptable to send them back to school, or would you still recommend that wait online to get the COVID test?
I don't know. These are very good questions, and I think the Department of Health is going to have to weigh in on that and determine when they say, you can't return to school without a test, what do they really mean by that? And what test is acceptable?
I understand, and layman, I'm not a doctor, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I'm disappointed in our government and CDC, the Department of Local Districts, to make that decision. So we're looking at an outside source talking to you and looking for recommendations. We don't have the expertise in this. And if it is, you make that decision what you want to do, whether it's right or wrong.
But I think what Gail's saying, they're being overwhelmed now. I think that's why the CDC turned it back over, is because they were so overwhelmed of all the school districts they had to do exactly what you're asking them to do, that they just couldn't manage it, and they're thinking that this fall is going to be even probably more difficult because of the nature of what's happening. And already we're hearing from not only Gail, but other doctors are saying they're just overwhelmed with the amount of kids coming in and wanting to be tested and getting the doctor to make a decision about whether they are able to come back to school or not.
So as we're talking about,
I mean, for me to see every kid who has a cold and test them was one thing last January when nobody had a cold, but to do it when there's more colds than even normal, I don't see how we're going to get it done. I can't see every kid who has a cold.
Is the town leaving up their testing site for the rest of the year, or are they going to rely on schools to do the testing? You
And who's
know,
going to pay for it?
the town of East Hampton has the testing site there, right? Up by the town courts, the testing site
Yeah.
for COVID. Is that going to remain open for the school year?
I don't think Gail knows that answer.
No, she might have heard, she might have some information.
My understanding of that testing site is they gave free rent to a commercial facility who sends their testing out and bills the patient for it and doesn't accept Medicaid. I don't think it's a free testing site.
I think that's
I mean, I could be wrong, and I'm hearing complaints from parents coming to me. They waited online for 4 hours to get a test. And
Yeah. Hi, guys. It's Carrie. I can speak to that. It's not free, Pat. You need your insurance or you have to pay for it. And they've been running out of tests every day. And one of our members, went today and she waited 4 hours, like Dr. Schoenfeld saying. I waited last week 3 hours.
I have patients screaming at me every single day because we don't have enough openings. I have staff complaining to me that we're seeing too many patients. They can't keep up anymore. They want to quit. It's the system is imploding.
so in terms of the mask issue, Dr. Schoenfeld, is your opinion that mask in school is really going to be the best preventative for people getting sick? And would that also include out on the playground? I mean, we stopped wearing the mask outside. Is it okay to have it off outside if you are wearing it inside, or will we be back to the beginning where kids really need to wear it everywhere?
Well, yeah, there's some very good questions. I mean, number one is stopping the spread of COVID, and now we're talking about stopping the spread of the common cold. And if the kid is returning to the classroom with a common cold who has tested negative for COVID, how are we going to stop the spread of that? We used to not even attempt it. But now when a kid's got a cold and has to get a test and can't access care, he's going to, miss 2 weeks of school. It's a problem. I guess the masks are the best bet, but I don't know how effective they are for the spread of the common cold, particularly in the younger children who are not going to keep from saturating their masks with snot.
Right. I mean, I don't think we can fight against the common cold, but kids are going to miss out on school this year as they normally do. I think what we really have to focus on is preventing, kids from getting COVID.
And spreading.
And spreading.
And I think the masks are recommended. I don't know how much science and how effective they are. Obviously, the vaccine is more effective, and for the older kids, that's one thing. But the little kids tend not to be as easily infected or as contagious. But that seems to be not as reliable now with the Delta variant that is so much more contagious. It is spreading faster among the kids than the original virus did. That was the one thing I think that was really helping us, is that they tended not to give it to each other. And I don't know that we can count on that moving forward.
So
Okay, but the good news, that really sounded like such doom and gloom. I'm sorry, guys. The good news is if the adults in the building are vaccinated or immune, the kids not spreading it to the adults who tended to be much sicker, means the consequences of, in terms of hospitalization and death, which sort of was the big issue here. I mean, going back to what really matters, I think that's going to be much less of a problem this year. Going to be a lot more infections, but probably not very many serious ones. I mean, certainly not none, but not the numbers like we've been seeing in the past.
So the recommendation is for those who are not vaccinated to get vaccinated.
That is for sure. And I just saw the teachers' unions all starting to vote to mandate it. I think that's around the pike. I think FDA approval is imminent for the RNA vaccines, and I think a mandate for vaccination is going to be quick to follow. I think that's another issue you've got to address when it happens. It's, I think, coming soon.
Thank you, Dr. Schoenfeld. We'll be in touch. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Good luck, guys. Another tough one. I feel for you.
So we would actually be adopting our recommendation as part of our reopening plan.
Correct. On the 23rd.
Right.
And we'll have something for you drafted.
And is East Hampton doing mask indoors and outdoors, or?
I just know indoors.
Right, okay,
And that's for everybody.
right.
Vaccinated or not vaccinated, right? Everybody.
Everybody. Yeah. Vaccinated or not vaccinated, high school or elementary. Everybody. And as I said, out of 16 districts today, 15 will say mask.
I mean, I'm on board with that. Can they still take them off outside like we did at the beginning last year? I think that would be very helpful.
Again, the chart that I'm proposing will show that if it ever gets to that red zone, then we have to do masks outside. But, you know.
But to start with.
I think for children, we were masked during the summer, and it wasn't confusing to our students. It was just normal. Some districts were unmasked, and then they had to mask up again. That was confusing to the kids. So I say, let's start masks, see how everything goes. Okay. Keep this 3-foot distance, bring some of their supplies in, make your rooms look attractive. Keep masks on the bus, keep our windows open. We got beautiful new windows. They're double hung, the tops can be open so safely, so, you know, no intruders come in, but yet still get that fresh air. And we have new ventilation systems in good percentage of our new rooms. Air filters. We've got this.
Okay.
Thank you for moving that, Barbara.
Yes.
Take her time.
Yes, certainly. So moving on to the rest of the work session agenda, we got a couple items that we know we need to check in with Mike about, and possibly DBS also.
Yeah, I'm here.
Field lining services, Mike.
Yeah, back a while back, I was asked to get in touch with the company that has been doing the fertilization of our fields, to give you an idea, an overview of what their plan is for the backfield here where the softball fields are, as well as the new athletic field. And to that end, I've got Chris Hines on board here. The company, the group that does it is NYSID, and it's the New York State Industries for the Disabled that spearhead this. And Chris Hines works for Landtech, and this is his area of expertise. And while I was talking with Chris, he came out for a visit. We were walking the field, noticing that the softball field in the back, the Little League field that's back here as well, they're in need of some major repair work. So he's going to talk a little bit about that. He provided me some quotes on that, as well as the maintenance that we're going to need to do on the diamond for the new baseball field is an ongoing basis. So with that in mind, Chris, if you're on, can you unmute and take it from here?
I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, when we visited, we walked the grounds, and a little history here. We've been working with your school district for the last 10 years. So when I first came out there 10 years ago, the fields weren't in very good shape. We put a plan together, worked with everybody, and we got them in as far as what maintenance we were putting into it, got them in excellent shape where they were white, full of clover. And then we got them to where you had a legitimate ground, a good grass covering. So, but now that we're here, we renovated the fields. You built the baseball field. You changed the direction of the fields that you had. I'm not sure the north-south on your district, but you changed them opposite. And then you also put in a high-end drainage system, the coral system, which, that in itself means you got to make sure you take the time to keep up with them. You put a lot of money into it. Now you got to keep your investment going. So what I proposed initially with you is the fertilization and aeration of the fields. So what we did was put together a program to get the fields growing. So the first year, we're really looking at to encourage the grass to grow. And we'll also, part of what we do too is we'll also help with whoever's cutting the grass, instruct them how to properly cut it, make sure they cut it at the right heights, in that part. But as far as back to the program, we'll, the first year is to get the grass growing, get it established. Once we got it established going forward, then we're going to get into the overseeding, fertilization. We'll take routine soil testing out there. So if we need to adjust the pH one way or another, we know that. And then also periodic, probably every other year, the district needs to budget. Since you have a sand slit system, you need to budget to keep that system viable, and that's by top dressing the field with a layer of sand, and that generally you can get away with every other year. As far as the baseball field goes, that's something you need to either have the manpower or bring in a service like us to keep it up with. You're going to need to add additional clay. One of the things you need to also do is continually drag the field. Since we're not allowed to apply pesticides anymore, the clay will grow weeds. And weeds do find their way in there. They're blown around by either through the wind or the mowing. So the weeds grow in there. So one way of not having weeds is to do ongoing dragging of the field. The other thing is, is to get the field ready. You want to probably, the best time to do it sometime is in the fall when the weather's still viable. That way the field's ready to go in the spring. If you wait till the spring, one of the problems we see is the weather's unpredictable. And a lot of times, in this area, we start early March. Now you have to wait for the field to dry up before you get the equipment. Whereas if you did it in October or early November, the field's ready to go. So, we've given you a number to help maintain that and keep that going. The other thing is, and this kind of goes back to Title IX programs, is, you put a lot of money into the boys' baseball field. When we were looking at where the girls play, that and the Little League field next to it, both haven't had any a good overhaul, good attention in the last few years. I know I've worked with the town of East Hampton in the past. We redid the Mainstone field. We rebuilt the fields in Montauk, and along with the field in Amagansett on Abrams Road. So we, every so often you got to get these fields rebuilt. You got to get the lips removed. That's where the sand and the silts accumulate around the perimeter. You got to get that removed so it's not a tripping hazard to the infielders. And generally that's when their infielder is going to be backpedaling to catch that infield fly. So you got to remove that. The other thing in our conversation was this is a girls' field for softball. Typically softball's played on a skinned infield, and that's being just straight clay. Right now you have grass. So part of the proposal we put together was to convert that into an all skinned infield. But, and then the Little League as well, we either give you a number to clean it up, get it back to where, prime shape, or just give it a good cleanup and get it ready. So we gave you those three numbers. As far as the softball goes, that one does kind of fall under the Title IX, because what you do for the boys, you need to do something for the girls as well. And then the other thing while we were watching or walking around, I did point out that there's a possible safety issue. The fencing that's currently along the baselines is only a 6-foot height. It's recommended it be 8-foot height. At 6 feet, a stray ball still can get up and over the fence. At 8 feet, that keeps anybody from having their hands on top of the fence, and also keeps any stray foul balls coming in and directly anybody that might be sitting on the bench behind the fence work. So that is there. So I guess we'll go for any questions or who's. Anybody have questions or?
Proposal for revamping the feeds, and then we have the separate proposal for the maintenance, which the maintenance, it sounds like we will need either way, correct?
Yeah, you'll need the maintenance. You'll need to, on a regular basis, you need to come out and grade it. You need somebody that knows how to operate the equipment. You know, our guys are skilled. We probably rebuild a dozen or more baseball fields a year, whether it's infield, little league, baseball, or even softball. And a lot of times I have certain other customers that what they do is have me come in every few years, get it to where it needs to be. Their guys can handle it for a while, but then there's a certain point that their skill with operating equipment is not there, and they need somebody with the right skill to do it, get the field to the right level. The other thing is you got to the outside groups that are going to utilize this. You know, you got to make sure you try to set some standards, because last thing you need is a parent coming out there, hey, there's a puddle, he sweeps it. But what happens is now that puddle becomes bigger. So you need to have somebody or at least the material that they're displacing, trying to get rid of the puddle, they need to bring back. So the next time it rains, the puddle's not bigger, it's gone. So there's ongoing maintenance with that. And then that varies from year to year. You know, right now, you guys, the weeds have grown into it because it just needs to be drugged on a regular basis. That helps you reduce the amount of weeds that grow. But I'm sure in a couple more weeks, that thing is going to probably be more weed than it is clay.
Mike, so expenses like this, where do these come from in the budget? Is this repair?
No, first of all, the routine aeration, fertilization, we already have it in the budget. We've been paying between $14,000 and $16,000 per year to NYSED. So their proposal starts in the first year at about 17. So it'll fit within the budget. We'll have to budget for a little bit more the next year when they top it off with the sand for the drainage. As far as the other stuff to redo these fields, I think we've got one of two options. One option would be we'll have to wait and do a proposition like we did with the roof to take money out of the capital reserve. But that's going to delay it. We're not going to have softball fields ready for the girls in the springtime when the softball season hits. Option B would be, I'll have to work with Deb on this, is we've got a pandemic relief grant, and this could be a project that would fit nicely in that big pandemic relief grant that Deb's going to be writing and trying to, find expenses to use, one-time type of expenses to use. I like the idea of skinning the infield because I watch out here from the business trailer. Our kids during recess, during gym class, they play a lot of kickball, and it's rolling the ball like on a softball field, and a nice flat surface is helpful and conducive to them playing that game. Whereas on the grass that's out there now, that ball's rolling on the grass and it's bouncing all over the place. So I just thought it would be a nice add-on all around for not just girls softball, but for the gym classes and for recess as well, having a nice flat skinned infield. We could actually do both fields as skinned softball fields. Little leagues, if they want to use the ball field as a Little League field, the Little League could be required then to purchase a temporary mound that just sits on top of the dirt so the pitchers can pitch off of a little bit of a hill. That's, again, that's an option. But at least you'd have two quality softball type fields, which is better aligned with our programs at Springs, our gym classes, and our recesses.
The softball field's usable as is right now?
It needs work.
It needs work. The balls take some wild bounces. The bases, some of the bases, Whitney's complained to me about the bases, the home plate, the first, second, third base, they need to be reset, re-anchored. The pitching rubber has to be redone. It's broken. Somehow it was split down the middle. So yeah, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And is it safe? It's borderline. It really, truly is.
Okay. Do we need to make a decision on doing something like this?
Mike, I
I
think
think if you're okay philosophically, maybe with Deb and I can sit and start working on any of these grants and see if we can fund it through a grant.
they've been taking our phone calls ahead of time, even though they're a little behind in approving things. I got a commitment for them on the project most, because it was summer, I needed to know whether I could send the kids. The same thing on this, I will tell them that it's time sensitive, we want to get the fields, ready before the spring of next year and see if I can get a commitment from them that this is something achievable. They are recommending one-time expenses, and they are recommending to get kids outside, picnic tables, portico, for outdoor classroom space. So we'll run it by them.
Do you think the town would be willing to give any money toward this to get it back in shape for this one time and then the district keep it maintained?
It's worth the phone call, Amy. I have a phone call into them on the floor in the back as well.
I was going to say, question is, but close the other ball field down, right? And it goes. That's going to be shut down, and the town's going to be short of softball fields as it is. Might be, town-wise.
I also know the town has a surplus
Yeah.
this year, so that might be something
Yes.
that.
And then maybe we can also get a annual maintenance on that field as well. Let's see if we can even see the annual maintenance.
We can give you an annual maintenance price on those two fields too, once they're set.
Yeah, it'd be helpful too, since we do got to budget it for both fields.
It sounds like we know this is a project that you see it taken care of, and the question is just how to pay for it.
Okay.
But I think it's important going forward that if we know the board philosophically is in agreement with this, we can work on trying to find resources to fund this rather than having, it hit our general fund, which increases taxes to the community.
Right, this is also, our Little League fields, softball fields are town-wide use. It's not just spring students using softball field and the Little League field, like the one in the back of it, sports, it's elementary sports. These two fields are always been town-wide. If we rotate softball teams, go from here to Montauk to play. Montauk students play here, softball, and they play Little League here. We use Lions Field, we use Abraham's Path, we use every field out there. So it's a town-wide concern.
Yeah, most Little Leagues and softball programs for the youth, they use every field that they can find, every field around.
Yeah, as I said, I don't know who's maintaining John Marshall's. These have to maintain John Marshall's. They have one skin field up there.
I would think he's careful about that.
And then you brought up, which is, Chris brought up about the proper cutting of the fields. We should look into that and see if when we put out the bid, lawn care, that the fields are properly cut, especially with the new sod put in.
Right.
If there is proper heights to cut it. I'm sure they know how to do it, but it's being done.
Right. I've had conversations with our existing contractor, and they know to keep it cut down to about 3.5 inches for the summer. And when we get into season, maybe trim it down a little bit tighter, like for soccer, so that the ball rolls a little truer for the kids.
Right. So maybe we should have something, if Chris is willing to help us out, since he's done many fields before, is give us recommendations of proper grass height for each season.
Yes, we'll provide that if we haven't done that already. We'll provide the recommendations.
That'll be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're unfortunately, because we don't have a grounds maintenance department and any equipment, we have to rely on contracting all this work out.
Yes, and we know that's most economical for us to do at the present time. That's why we've been contracted out. But as The one time Springs did cut the road grass. We just got rid of the tractor.
It's a lot more.
Yeah. I think the one thing too, Chris, I don't know that you touched on it, is the composition of the fertilizer you're planning on using for the grass. You know, the organic versus the hybrid. You're recommending the hybrid. What's the difference?
The hybrid's going to give us, it's that balance between the organic and a straight synthetic fertilizer with, you know, we want the grass to respond. At the end of the day, nitrogen's nitrogen, and that nitrogen's utilized by the plant through photosynthesis to develop sugars, and which encourages the plant to grow. So with the hybrid, we find that nice balance. You know, some of the organic products, they're more expensive because you have to use a lot more of it to get there, and the release is not there. Whereas with the synthetic, you get a good release. The plant utilizes the material and uses it to grow. So that's where it is. Again, at the end of the day, this is a sports field. It's getting trampled on a regular basis. So you need to give the plant the energy and the food to regrow, rejuvenate itself. And then that's where we also get into the overseeding down the road, whereas, you know, we're trying to minimize the bare spots and keep introduce a seed that we want to grow, bluegrass, rye, and the fescues, and not the weeds. So we're trying to encourage good grass to grow and crowd out the weeds. But the hybrids, the balance between the two fertilizers out there and be economical at the same time.
Mike, can we get a list of what the two kinds of fertilizers are, the organic versus the hybrid, and also how do those work with our new septic system? Is there any consideration there?
Chris, you can help us out with that?
Yeah, I'm going to get you a list, but you know, here's one thing you got to also consider. Your sports fields were built with a coral drainage system, so that you're going to have to water them more often because they will dry out quicker. Secondly, that system will also take the water and they'll funnel that into some chambers that have been built in to take the water. So I don't think you're going to have anything with your septic system. This is outside of your septic system, which was put closer to the school. The other thing, you know, we do this in a controlled fashion. We make sure the machines are calibrated. They're spread out evenly over the whole field. We're looking at about 6 acres total. And, you know, you put this down in a small, and it's going to be put down in a small amount. You know, generally you're going to water it sooner after we leave the area, and the plant's going to get dissolved in the soil and utilized by the plant, the grass. So we can help you with a list, you know, and I think we discussed it some, you know, that early on a straight organic program is going to be much more expensive, and you know the hybrid program kind of kept you within where you've been in the previous. And that's what we've been using a regular fertilizer for the last 10 years on the field. So we're now just going to up it into the hybrid organic system.
And then Chris, irrigation. I know we have irrigation out in the old field, up on the softball field, and you put it in the new field as well, right?
There's new irrigation in the field, the new field, yes.
There's irrigation I'm not sure if there's irrigation. I know there is some irrigation out in the softball fields. Would you be looking at that as well to make sure it's irrigated?
The look at it?
Well, we have what we need.
Yeah, I'd have to look at, we'd have to have the irrigation company out to make sure they can help turn on all the heads. Because one of the things too, you need to make sure with irrigation that somebody checks the heads on a regular basis. Just, you know, I've had situations where the head was putting water out, but what they have is the mister, which is underneath. So you could have sat underneath the head and been bone dry because the water was going up and underneath. So you got to check it. And sometimes heads get stuck for whatever reason. Grits gets into them. And sometimes mowers get a hold of them. So you got to make sure you kind of have an ongoing inspection on that. So yeah, we can help you with the irrigation.
Yeah, up until they started building out the fields, putting the new irrigation system in the new field, we had a company out here that would check these sprinklers every year. They'd shut them down, blow them out at the end of the fall, and then they would open them back up in the spring, make sure they're all working. But you know, with the construction going on, it's kind of been put a little bit on hold, especially with the new well that still is yet to be put in. So once the new well is driven, we can hook up both irrigation systems to it and run them together. That'll certainly help with the watering of the grass.
Right.
I know, nobody's going to bring it up is we're looking at we do the fields, irrigation's not proper, it's all, it's funds. So I want to make sure there's enough funds, we don't want to do it halfway. I want to do it correctly once. I don't want to do it twice.
In which case that might be part of this other estimate for doing the field.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, if you're gonna invest in the field, you gotta make sure that they're getting adequate water.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Understood.
Okay, thank you. And I'll follow up with Mike.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, have a good night.
So,
Mike, the field lining,
yeah, we had spoken about this a while back, having that robotic field lining machine for $10,000. And they provide you with the paint, they provide you with the templates for all the different fields that we might need lined, the baseball field, the softball field, the soccer fields. They could template in a track, because I know in the springtime, the track coaches like to have some sort of a track laid out, 4-lane track for the kids to get a little orientation. The phys ed teachers will use the liner to line other types of things for their gym classes as well. I reached out to East Hampton. They hired an outside firm to do the field lining, and I sent you over what their bid sheet was. And I took a look at it, and I said, all right, we've got 10 weeks of season for the soccer field, 10 weeks of baseball, 10 weeks of softball, and roughly 10 weeks for 4-lane track. How many times a week do we need to reline it? And I came up with some numbers, and I plugged in the rates that East Hampton got in their bid contract, and just for the field lining using an outside contractor was going to be about a little over $21,000 versus the $10,000 lease on this robotic machine. And the nice thing about the lease on the robotic machine is if it breaks down, they'll bring another one in and replace it, no charge. If after a year we don't like it, we want to get rid of it, they'll take it back with no obligation after that. So I just thought it would be something nice to spruce up these brand new fields, make them really look good. Keep in mind, again, we don't really have a grounds maintenance crew that should be doing this. And as Deb can explain, you know, we've had the desk audit from the civil service, which identified what our custodians can and cannot do. And unfortunately, maintenance of the fields is one of the things that's not in the civil service directory for a custodian. So I just thought this might be a good opportunity. We could get the robotics team or the class involved, you know, to kind of help with any other kinds of programming for the machine to do.
they'll show the teachers how to use it.
Yep. It is quite easy to use. You know, 4th and 5th grade kids can operate the machine under an adult supervising what they're doing.
You're recommending we have our students and staff put the lining on the field versus custodians?
We've got one maintenance mechanic / custodian. One person can operate the machine and do the fields without having to run measuring tape, strings, all of that stuff. The custodians can be a helper, but the custodians by themselves can't do the work.
The maintenance one mechanic should?
The maintenance one mechanic can.
How soon do we need to get this?
Well, if you want to have the fields using this machine this fall, all I have to do is make a phone call to the guy and say, we're in. Just get a purchase order generated and call them and schedule it.
Right, okay. Well, Janet, what's your thought on, I mean, I'm not Not my specialty.
It's a new field, you know, and like you were saying, it's $10,000 per machine. I don't, you know, if that's what it costs to do it, but I don't want to rely on my students and my staff to run this machine.
I think they can get involved in just the planning.
I think it's planning on the show how it works, but you know.
As far as putting it out there and being, I think one person could do that, that would save us money in the long run.
Right.
Definitely when you look at the price that you gave us about an outside firm doing it
Right.
versus this, I think it makes sense. And after a year, if it doesn't work out well, we can just go to
It's
something
fair,
else.
yeah. You just find someone one step.
I think it's pretty much a no-brainer for us right now.
We're gonna just pay to run it.
It's great to have that option, actually.
So what are we doing?
Oh, is Dave there?
Dave's there.
Dave is there.
Getting
Yeah,
the,
I'm confused. I'm confused. Who's gonna, if we're gonna, what are we deciding on with the field here? With the robot?
getting the robot to do the lining that Mike.
Yeah, but who's the designated person who's gonna take ownership of running this thing so that this is done correctly?
Gonna have to be Eric Drew. He's the maintenance mechanic.
So as long as he's on board and he's absolutely 100% behind being the head person on this, then seems like it's a no-brainer, but we need that clarification.
And so we'll bring it back for the next meeting after Mike has a conversation with Eric Drew.
But wouldn't it, if it's a work session, and we thought, of course, I don't know, but if it's a maintenance one to do that, responsibility of the maintenance one, whether it's Eric Drew, whoever else is maintenance, not personally Eric, it's the maintenance one mechanic's job to do the line.
Yes.
Yep.
And that, will be.
It just happens to be Eric. It shouldn't, you know, it's nice to ask him and say, should he make a financial responsibility of $10,000? Say, I'm not gonna do it, it's gonna cost him $21,000 to pay an outside source?
He doesn't have a choice.
I don't think, you know, unfortunately, no. Not $10,000.
No, he doesn't have a choice.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it sounds like it's not gonna take a lot of time
No,
versus measuring and doing that. He would be doing it anyway, possibly with from outside.
what would be, maybe the hopeful is if Mike could do at the next meeting, gives a presentation of how this machine properly works, how it just, works by GPS, this is the way the system works, this is what it takes to get it to go, it's a no-brainer. I just went through this with the Boy Scouts, we were doing merit badges. And look at this long list of things to do. And the kid looks out and says, I don't want to do that. Hey, it's simple, just destination. You don't watch the grass for a week. Well, hire this week? Oh, is that all I had to answer? Yeah. And so if I said to you, run this computer machine around the fields, I'd be very reluctant. But if Mike can get this machine and explain how it works, Eric should be excited to use this.
I'm sure there's videos, Mike.
Well, I can also talk to the guy. I'm sure that he'll bring a machine down and demonstrate it right on our property.
That would be helpful.
Yeah.
That would be perfect.
So we're going with this.
I believe so.
Sounds like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're waiting for a discussion.
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
What do you think, Amy?
I agree.
All right, BBS with us on the athletic field fencing option. I shared with the board the copy that John Longo gave on the two options for fencing. John with us?
I'm here.
Jim, are you going to take it, fencing?
Well, it was a discussion that was brought up at the last board meeting. I think you guys all were aware of the two options. One was for a chain link fence in the field area, and then the other was for a split rail fence with some hedging behind it to prevent a ball from a field getting kicked onto the drives or parking areas. So those are the two options that are there.
Yeah, talk to John about these. Is he because we were going over some of the plants and things like that last time, and then subsequent to that discussion, which I was all gung ho to having a wooden fence and some plants behind it, then it's like, okay, are things going to grow too big? Is it going to be an issue of security, being able to see what's on the field, depending on what's there? So I actually had some more questions.
Okay.
Is John available, Jim?
No, he is not. What are the questions?
Well, we were very specific in going over what kind of plants to put there, and he had suggestions about things. And so my opinion as to, we talked about putting bayberry there. How big is that going to grow? Will it be blocking the sight line when we have, security driving through there to look onto the field? Will that be an issue?
Yes, those are plants that grow very dense, and they can grow to a height of about 6 feet, but they can also be trimmed down to 3 or 4 feet. So it's, the idea, I think, was to have a growth that would prevent any, balls from passing through and kids from running, past that into the parking areas.
Could be kept trimmed down basically to fence level. They wouldn't just have to, right, okay.
Yep. Yeah, they can be, and it would be, probably a little bit more to maintain them to be at that height, in terms of just kind of letting them grow a little bit and then, getting tall. But if you want to keep them at a, 3 or 4 foot height, it might, require a little bit more cutting and attention over the course of the growing season.
That's my concern, is that, again, it sounds nice. It sounds like it aesthetically may be the right thing to do, but as far as safety and maintenance over time and we are a public school. I'd like to see, maybe if we were going to spend a little extra money to maintain things, that maybe we'd be doing something different than cutting hedges. And if that one or two bushes died, then replacing them. It just seems like it's a lot more work to do the split rail and the landscaping behind it than necessarily just having a black chainmail fence that you can barely see it. It disappears in the background, and I feel like it's a much more secure and safe way to protect those ball fields and balls going out into the driveway, and keeping kids in respected areas and being able to see what's going on and necessarily having that. That's how I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, earlier today I asked John Longo, what is the estimated useful life of a split rail fence? He indicated about 8 years. So you'd have to replace that whole fence once every 8 years. So it doesn't have the length of life that a chain link does, but that becomes another added expense in 8 years.
What's the life of a chain link fence? Because we know we're replacing some in the back. How long's that been there?
It's been there a long time.
Yeah,
30,
chain link
50
fence,
years.
if it's not getting beat up and sat on and, pushed against with snow and mold, kind of bent up, it'll last 20, 25 years if it's, not bothered, just left to stay. The galvanizing is going to be good. The posts will be fine. They're not going to rot out. The vinyl may, fade a little bit over time, but it's, they're come up with, great chemicals that have increased the durability of the vinyl cladding. So, those fences, I don't see those being replaced for another, 25 years once they're installed.
Well, and the other thing is that during maintenance or shoveling snow, whatever, the split rail fence may become damaged also, maybe easier than the metal.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you can easily replace metal fence than actually if something's damaged or trees die or bushes die or whatever. I just feel like it's a cleaner approach for this area that's needed, rather than, and maybe use some money to do some more aesthetic things at other areas that are give us much more of a bang for our buck than necessarily doing it with a fence.
Just for the public, the part of the fencing that we're discussing is along the parking lot. It's almost like an L shape. So the other L shape is already the chain link fence. We're replacing a part in the back that's really old and then adding a new section. So the safety factor, we're talking about the plants, because the split rail will give you no border at all. It keeps running, you can run right through the split rail, right into the parking lot. So, I'm leaning towards the chain link fence for safety reasons. We keep talking safety. I just wouldn't want to see that one spot where, the bayberry bush didn't grow right and the kid decides to crawl through it. You know, even if it's a kid watching their brother or sister play baseball and the mother turns it back for 5 minutes, the kid's in the parking lot.
Well, and it's after school hours too that we have to be concerned about.
Yes.
You know, and that's why I think to be consistent with this whole field, I think it just makes sense to be consistent there and then maybe do some other things aesthetic wise with other areas with the school.
I didn't envision, well, because each week we got a different vision of the fencing. This is more detailed than what we've had before. I didn't realize it was almost 800 feet of fence. I was talking about 300-foot section. I didn't realize that we were along the whole parking lot. I thought it would just be up by the entrance over here. You know, the chain link is 4 foot high. You know, we could plant in front of it or behind it. If we want to spruce it up a little bit.
You could, I think if you did that later on, if you felt like it was too stark, then you could, because you wouldn't have to be so dense. You could do it in a way that maybe was a lot prettier or maybe.
You could actually do it like they did it a few years back in front of the pre-K building. Remember they planted all the plants in there? They planted all the they planted all the flowers in the tulips.
But the problem is deer, and the deer eat everything.
Yeah.
There's not too many things that they won't eat, and that's what I'm concerned. Even if it's bayberry, there are enough deer anyway in this area that they're going to ravage anything that we put out there new, I think. So,
They don't eat that.
yeah, but I.
Right now. They never eat
I've heard that from a lot of different
Their
places.
appetite changes.
Yeah, it does. They have been hydrated for 20 years. Now they eat them. You know, chili is good. But there was also a discussion one time of 4 foot or 6 foot hole on that property. And we talked about the 4 foot down along the chain link for cost wise. So we did drop it down to, you know, chain link is, footwell is nice. But I didn't really do it that much. I think so.
Yeah,
But then-
Dave?
But what we couldn't understand last time, Bob, but still, was remember they were talking about removing 1,300 feet of fence, and then they would install 1,100 square feet of fence. No, there's no square feet, I said, it can't be square feet, there would be thousands. You know, 1,100, so I was asking for clarification on that. What fence we were taking down, which ones we were replacing, you know, because they were saying they were moving some.
Yeah.
Because the property lines, I don't think we cleared up on that yet.
Well, that's that part in the back that you can see, that's kind of.
Well, part of that is temporary fencing.
No, it's the older galvanized stuff in the back.
The way
so
back.
You can see it's sort of like bent and,
But I don't think that,
Yeah, it's on here.
I see that it's on here.
it's on here, where?
Yeah, it's along the back. If you look, hold it upside down.
Well, this fence here,
Okay, the red line,
yep.
that section is the old section.
no, the blue line is the old section.
And we enlarged the field, so you put a more fence out there then?
The blue line is the old section.
You're right, the blue line is the old section.
And that's being removed and pushed out further, is that the way it's
It
going?
says
No,
removing,
it's getting replaced.
Removing the existing and replacing it with new.
But I thought we enlarged the field, but we had to have more fence in the back. Without the regular contract.
Extend the
The new,
fence.
it's going the other direction. We're extending the fence back that way, not coming this way.
Apparently, there's only posts there, back.
Remember the old field, the trail is back there. Remember there was a couple of gates? Did we encroach on that and clear the field?
Trail?
Used to be a trail.
Oh, a trail.
There was a
Yes,
trail
that's
double
done-
gate width.
done that way, Carter,
And we
yes.
encroached on it further into
Yeah,
it.
they cleared back here.
There was that fence back there now.
I don't think so.
No.
I think
There was
it's
no fence back there before, no, because it was just woods.
There was a fence there one time, on the rear of the field, behind the soccer field.
The field got
Oh, behind the soccer field, yeah, but the area that we put the baseball field was just trees.
There was a fence there now.
Yes.
I don't see that, I look at this wrong.
This, the red here is new.
What is
Yeah,
this?
this is where we are, this is like close to where we are right now.
Okay, this is the new parking lot, correct?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
this is the road.
Where's the soccer fields?
Soccer fields are right in here.
Right here,
Yeah, so we're looking right now, we're over here.
over here,
And this is the old stuff that's still there.
okay?
So there's the baseball diamond. So
This
there's
one is
no,
over here,
you're basically right, so back
Right,
behind next
yeah.
to that and there, that's where the new fencing has to
Right.
go.
so this to be the back line, just doesn't make sense to have to look at it. It seems like we're,
The back line is this line here, if you look at it vertically.
back line,
Back line is back there.
that's behind, no, that's that side of the building. That's the far
Yeah,
side.
that's
The
the
kindergarten
far
section
side
is
is back
there.
there,
And
yeah.
then the rear field, maybe this isn't proportionally right, it's only 300 feet from the main.
It
The
shows,
baseball field, the rear line is only 300 feet. The rear line of the building, the rear end of the property, clear 2 acres. Right? Am I been-
I don't even see a dimension on
I
here.
don't either.
You can
So-
see the
so tiny to
eyesight
see.
in there.
There's 800 feet of fence, I'm just trying to figure out whatever it is. Well, 1,100 feet. As long as they're in the back lines will be fenced in,
Yes.
down by parcel.
Yes, that's what it shows right here. The red line there is the new fence that's going in that part.
Okay.
Then the old fence is the blue that's being replaced because it needs to be replaced. And then, of course, the new in the front is red, going along where the driveway is. Then you come down to where the split rail was supposed to go, and we're saying we'd rather have
Fence.
it, yeah. So it's totally fenced in there.
All field.
Oh, well, I think I know what's Pat's questions here, because you're removing 1,156 square feet of existing chain link. If that's the section along here, how can the rest of it be 1,140?
Is that because of the gates? That's
The
like,
numbers
has 2
didn't
gates
match.
on it?
The numbers didn't match, I couldn't figure out, when I asked the question last month, I was told the square footage. It's like, I didn't want to tell them that incorrect, because first of all, you had lineal footage,
It's literally,
not square footage, so I couldn't figure it out. And I asked the question, I'm asking again, exactly where are we going with these fences? This is a hard map. We had a field map here, like, site map, it would be easier to see. I got a board.
Well, if I can interject, one of the things John Longo had said is the 1,156 of fencing is square footage, whereas the 1,140 is linear footage.
It wouldn't work. If you do a 4-foot fence by 1,000 feet, that's 4,000 feet. That's 4,000 square feet. It doesn't work that way, right?
I'm just telling you what John Longo had explained.
Tell me wrong.
1,156 is whatever the height is by its length. I don't know what the length is. I don't know what the height is.
I don't know, but if he was on a math test, he probably wouldn't pass that. So maybe I think we're gonna approve the fence, I'll approve doing chain link fence and do what we need. I'd like to see on the site plan exactly what we're looking at.
okay.
Because it doesn't show me on this small piece of paper, the new driveways put in. Now we had that's all gonna be wide open down at that end. The new driveway is kind of along the bus garage. That's gonna be wide open, right?
It's square feet, if it's a 4-foot high fence there, and you divide it, it looks like it's 289 feet of fencing along the side.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, 4,000 feet. We need, yeah, you don't understand it. That's what it is.
No, 289 feet. If this is square foot fencing here, 1,100 whatever square foot
All right, that's not
fencing,
much fence.
then to figure out the linear foot, you're dividing it by 4, because if that's
Yeah,
4
but
feet
it's
total,
a-
you have 289 feet there, and the rest of it is 1,140. That's 1,140 feet all the way around.
But why would you just do the linear? Anyway, I'd like to see on the site map, exactly what the fence is going.
Got it, got it.
Can we do that? What they have?
No, it'll be provided.
We have a site
And what we
map.
really need is we need John Longo to be here sitting and talking to Pat and talking to the board in person to really lay this out and explain it properly.
Well, I'm explaining it. What's shown is in orange is the 4-foot fence that's being proposed in terms of whether it be split rail or chain link. What's in blue is replacement of an existing fence along the property edge that's on the outfield of the baseball. And then what's in red is what has always been in the project, which is a 6-foot high fence in the outfield. But we will provide a plan that shows dimensions of all those areas so that it's crystal clear and there's no questions.
As long as we know that the whole field is being covered, that's all I'm asking.
But it is. In this diagram, it shows that everything's being covered. It's all
But
closed in.
that's the bid. That's
Yeah.
the
Right,
bid.
it's just in the actual.
It's the numbers that-
It doesn't matter about the numbers, if it's all covered, and that's the bid.
Right, so we'll provide each one of those lengths of fence. It'll align with what's in that table. And it'll say of the blue area, this is 1,100 feet. Of the orange length of fence, it's 1,200 feet. And of the red, it's,
I just, not, I don't want to
so
be
it adds up.
worried about, but it's like, we've missed certain things along the way.
Yep.
I'm gonna sign
Yeah, I mean,
off
we
on
look at these estimates when they come in to make sure that they align with, to make sure that we're not getting overcharged for this fee or for this added work. So we've,
Oh, something was missing.
this is from the contractor giving us his proposal for the work. So all these linear footages, that's all takeoff that they've done. John's gone back with them to work the numbers to make sure we agree with that, those linear footages. So it's all been worked out and looked at, and this is the the final table that we're considering. So we'll just add clarity to this diagram with a regular site plan and full dimensional information for what each of those line items represent.
Thank you.
Jim, what color are you looking at with those fences?
Black. It would be like a black vinyl.
I think the black looks good. The green might be another nice option, but yeah, the black looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We'll be right back to BBS. We just have one more work topic. The ribbon cutting, Barbara?
Ribbon cutting, yes, we want to change that to before our meeting on the regular meeting.
Yes, so we're going to change the ribbon date to the 20th. I want
Take
to
it
go
out and then put it on
totally
top.
ready.
Thank you.
And Mary's can see a completed building. So gives us all a little bit more time.
Number 20th?
Yes, 4 p.m. This way the staff is out, we've got plenty of room for parking. We'll have our student council come and help give some tours. They'll know the building by then.
I give a five of
We had one other item on the work session, but we're going to table that for now, but we need to move on to our regular meeting. So do I have a motion to adjourn the work session?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, so I would like to call to order our regular meeting. Julie, do you need to do roll call again?
No, we can just continue the meeting. Go ahead.
Thank you. So we'll start our regular meeting with the update on the capital project. We have BBS and Park East here with us this evening.
Yes, good evening. I'm just going to share my screen and then I'll get started. Can everyone see it? All right, great. So tonight's presentation is going to consist of the following topics. Section 1, work progress for August. Section 2, planned work for beginning of September. And then a series of construction photos showing some of the latest work that has taken place over the past month. So work schedule for August, beginning reconstruction of the Old Gymnasium area F, which consists of the following areas: this new small group, art and music rooms, currently metal stud framing and MEP rough-ins are about 70% complete to date. Beginning reconstruction of existing art room, metal stud framing, drywall, MEP rough-ins, tape and spackle. That's 80% complete. The remaining scopes to be completed in that area are the casework, flooring, and ceilings. Completed demolition of area A, which is the new main office area, is 100% complete to date. Beginning reconstruction in area A, same area for the administration staffing offices. The metal stud framing is 90% complete. Demolition of area C, that's the new egress near the junior high side of the building. The demolition of that area is 100% complete. Completed metal stud framing, MEP rough-ins, drywall, tape, spackle, painting, ceiling grid in the PPS and assistant principal's offices, which we call Area B, is 90% complete. Beginning installation of VCT flooring in the new addition classrooms. The classrooms are 100% complete, leaving only the hallways to be done within the new addition. Installing interior, exterior door and window systems. We have that 70% complete. Unfortunately, the contractor is missing 6 openings worth of material. They're working on getting a revised delivery date for these areas, but they are committed to installing a temp window system in the event that it does not come before the start of school. But the main goal is to get that material before school starts. We just wanted to have a plan B in place for the opening of school. Then you had complete cutting, new openings, and reconstruction in the existing gym, west egress in area F for the new windows and egress door systems. That's 100% complete. This is a continuation of August work. A lot has been being done over the past month. So both of these sections typically has been 1 page, but now we have 2 pages per section. So work for August, continuation, beginning reconstruction of small group rooms and special education rooms in area D, metal stud framing, drywall, tape, spackle, priming, painting, ceiling grid, and light fixtures. This area was the existing girls and boys locker rooms and is currently 85% complete. Completed demo of MEP and completed installation of VCT floor tiling in classroom 86 in area E. This is the one room in the junior high section that had limited work. That area is 100% complete and has been turned back over to the district. Complete installation of storm drains, leaching pools, catch basins, grates, cast iron downspout hubs in new parking lot is 100% complete. Continue installation of sidewalks, curbing for new parking lot. This scope will be completed by this Wednesday. Continue construction of the new garage. The only item that is missing for the new garage is the overhead door and some minor trim work. The overhead door is expected to be delivered on August 23rd and installed. It'll only take a day or 2 to get it installed. Complete demo for receiving area and bus break room. This area was the existing portable building. The demo is 100% complete and they're putting the spaces back together. Completed installation of roofing curbs. They're 100% complete to date. Complete installation of epoxy flooring in the new locker rooms, and that is also 100% complete. This is work scheduled for the beginning of September. It also, you'll see as I go through it, a lot of it is finishing either the last week or second to last week in August. Some of it rolls into the first week of September. So the first item is complete reconstruction of the old gymnasium, area F, which is a new small group, art and music rooms, projected to be complete prior to September 3rd. Complete reconstruction of the existing art rooms. That's projected to be completed by August 27th. Complete reconstruction in area A, the administrative staffing offices. This is projected to be completed prior to September 3rd. Complete reconstruction of area C. This is the egress that I mentioned prior. This is also projected to be completed by September 3rd. Complete construction of principal and assistant principal office in area B. That's projected to be completed by August 27th. Complete installation of VCT flooring in new addition corridors. That's projected to be completed by August 20th. Complete installation interior, exterior doors and window systems. As previously stated, the GC is missing some material for the 6 openings, but they have a backup plan. If that material does not arrive, we should know by the end of this week when that material is expected to hit the site. Complete reconstruction of the existing gym and west egress in area F for the new windows and egress door systems. It's projected to be completed by August 27th. Complete reconstruction of the small group and special education rooms in area D, and that's projected to be completed by August 20th. This is also a continuation sheet for the beginning of September, end of August, beginning of September work. First item, complete installation of sidewalks and curbing for new parking lot. That will be 100% by this Wednesday. Complete asphalt paving and line striping for new parking lot. So there's a few different components to the asphalt. There's a binder course, which is the first course, and that is scheduled to be completed by August 26th. Followed by the binder course is a top course or wearing course. That's projected to be completed by August 30th. Striping by September 2nd, and then signage installed by September 7th. Complete construction of the new garage door, gutters, and leaders. They were awaiting the new garage door, which is projected to be completed by August 27th. Complete reconstruction of the receiving area and bus break room. That's projected to be completed by August 27th. Complete installation of new lockers in the new locker room. That is 100% complete to date. They were able to install those items early, so the locker rooms are very close to being finished in their entirety. Complete installation, new gymnasium flooring. The wood was delivered today, and that floor is projected to be completed by August 31st. Complete installation of new gymnasium bleachers. They're currently scheduled to arrive on September 7th, but we're working with Nickerson to better that date. Again, by the end of this month, they need 3 days to install it. So we're trying to get them for the first week in September rather than the second week. And we'll have confirmation on that by the end of this week. Complete installation of new chairlifts in area A and F. I believe we're awaiting a approval for the electrician's proposed change order. These 2 lifts will be one of the last items installed before students arrive. Complete installation of rooftop HVAC equipment for areas A and F, projected to be completed by August 20th. Installation of metal trim fascia on the facade of the new addition. Projected delivery date of this material is August 18th. That brings us into some of the photos. This is a drone photo showing the overall site. In the far back, you can see the new turf fields. To the left, you can see the existing softball and Little League field. The back left of the building with the white roof. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, but that's the new addition. This is the front of the building. You can see some of the roadways, the new access road into the site. Next photo, you'll see the same area just from the other side. So here the drone is over the new turf fields. And you're looking at it starts with the visitor, teacher, staff parking lot with the turnaround. That second circle is the parent drop-off that leads you to the new main entrance of the new addition. Within the curbing towards the right side, the curbing and sidewalks towards the right side, that's where the playground and basketball court will be going. Another drone shot, just a little bit closer. Same area. You're looking, you're over the visitor and staff parking lot, looking directly at the parent drop-off circle and the new entrance. You can see the new gym in the foreground, locker rooms, technology room. And then to the far right of that is the new access road that the buses will be lining up in. Same area, just a little bit closer, getting you closer to the new addition. This is again the parent drop off. You can see the fence posts are in, the site lighting is in, most of the curbs and sidewalks are in. They're getting down the rough grade, all the drainage is in. Really the next phase is starting to lay that binder course of asphalt. Here's some photos of some drainage being installed for the new parking lot and associated piping. So some catch basins, some dry wells. Left photo here, just showing you the piping and some of the parging in from dry well to dry well. The right photo is showing a dry well physically being put in with the excavator. Some new concrete curbing and sidewalks. The left photo is the new main entrance. That's where the parent drop off will be dropping the students through that new main entry. This is the some new concrete curbing sidewalks around the new garage. So if you look at the left photo, just squeezed into the photo on the left is the portable, existing portable, which is being renovated into the receiving and bus lounge area. In the right photo, you could see, again, the portable is a little bit closer. That's where it's boarded up is where the overhead door goes. And then the foreground of that right photo is the new the new garage. Just some site concrete curbing and sidewalks. The left photo shows the concrete associated with the teacher, visitor, staff parking lot. The right photo is up closer to the school. You can see some site lighting within that photo as well. All right, so these are some steps. These actually lead into the existing stage. The left photo is the formwork for the steps. The right photo is that same area, but with the concrete poured. Grading steps. And this is that area just looking at a different angle. That new white door is a new FRP door. That was originally one of these three windows. The window was cut down to the ground, creating a new egress door system. So the only thing we're really waiting for here is the metal railings to be installed. Again, that enters you onto the existing stage. This is the existing gymnasium window and door openings. So to the left are two new windows that were installed. That's in the music/art room. To the right of that photo is a new concrete ADA ramp and steps that lead you into the existing gym that was essentially divided in half. That floor will be refinished, but that's one of the entries or egresses into the existing gym space. This is the new garage. This is the overhead door that's coming shortly. Most of this other work, the door, some of the trim and stuff has been completed to date. And I think next week or the following, that garage door is coming in to complete that portion of the project. Moving into the interior, this is in the new addition. This is the new locker room, specifically showing you the epoxy flooring. You can see the epoxy cove base, and that's all epoxy material that slip resistant I believe that's a coach's office to the right, and then the locker rooms are around the corner. This is the science room in the new addition, this red material. If you remember a couple board meetings ago, we had moisture issues. There was a partial change order split with the general contractor. This is the material to mitigate the moisture, that red material that you see screeded across the floors. Since this photo, the science room VCT has been installed. And as I stated earlier, all the VCT in the classroom portions of the new addition have been completed. Here's some examples of the VCT flooring being installed. The only VCT left to be installed within that new addition is in the hallway. This is the new gym and the divider wall. And as I stated before, the wood was delivered today for this space, and we'll soon start the installation of the same and be completed by August 31st with the wood and the striping and the game lines. This is the existing gymnasium reconstruction. You're looking at some of the practice rooms, and then the larger portion of the room is the music/art room. Some of the MEP rough-ins, and I believe that area is being sheetrocked as we speak, if not already done. This is the reconstruction of the new administration office. The left photo is that soundproofing that was added to the project. So on the other side of that wall, the left photo, the left side of the left photo, you have the existing library on the other side of that wall. So they're putting up that soundproofing to stop, noise traveling, whether from the office to the library or vice versa. The right photo is the same area, just showing you a different angle into that new main office suite. These are new small group rooms. This was one of the existing locker rooms. So this is one of the renovated spaces. And just ceiling tiles and floors need to go down. And then these rooms are going to be close to finish, expecting in the next 2 weeks to be completed with that area. This is the last slide. This is the new principal office area. You can see the new door frames, new walls, new ceilings, new floors. Again, I think the floors are being installed shortly if they haven't been installed already. And that area is looking to open up the third week of August. That concludes the update. Any questions or comments?
That was very thorough. I feel like I've a very good picture of what's going on. Thank you.
How interesting to hear that everything will be completed by September the 8th. I didn't hear anything after that, except maybe a few things that need to be adjusted. So that was good news for me. I'm just very hopeful and thankful. Well, thankful and then hopeful that certainly all these things will come about. It sounds like a lot to do in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you got it under control there.
It is a lot to do in a short amount of time, but it is on schedule. A lot of the trades have been working weekends, Saturdays from the beginning. We always struggle with manpower this time of year, but I think based on the master schedule, based on the material on site, we are in a good situation. I did mention a few of the outlying items that we don't have physically in our hands, but we do have plan Bs for those areas. The main one being the windows that are missing from the site. So there is a plan B. Hopefully we don't have to use the plan B but if we do, it's going to be a full window system. It probably won't match color-wise, but it will be a full, safe operating window system. And then shortly thereafter, it will be replaced on nights or weekends.
Derek, where is the parking for the buses? Where is that at? I saw a lot of dirt back there today.
Where is it schedule-wise? Yeah, so that, once they're about to go into that section, we needed them to prep and get the playground area ready because there's another contractor that comes in behind them. The bus area, Land Tech owns that exclusively. So we focus their energy up where the other subcontractors or prime contractors need to work, so that while they're building the playground, Land Tech can be over doing their thing at the bus property.
If I need to move the buses, we're still running programs till the end of August, so we have bus drivers around.
Okay, yeah, and I'll definitely, during this week, touch base with you. I'm sure Stephen Poget will also touch base, but I could definitely give you some more clarity on what that schedule looks like specific to that area. I don't have that off the top of my head, but I know the next move is over there.
We'll be working with John Longo this week on signage inside and outside the building as well.
Okay, so with that being said, there is a lead time associated with those items. Hopefully something is selected that is readily available. Other questions or comments?
What do you say about the bleachers?
I said the bleachers are expected to be delivered the day after Labor Day, which I believe is the 7th. We advised the contractor that because it takes them 3 days to install it, which would put the installation completing 1 day after students arrive. So they are reaching out to the manufacturer and trying to get the bleachers 1 week earlier because the gym floor, which dictates the installation of the bleachers, the gym floor has to be completed, is projected to be completed on August 31st. So we're trying to have Nickerson expedite the delivery to get it to us a week or a half a week earlier so that it's 100% prior to the kids coming in on the 9th. And I said, by the end of this week, I'll have confirmation on the windows and on the bleachers.
Do I have that picture? Yes.
Excuse me?
I have it as a screensaver, so I can send it to you.
It's from school on it?
Yes. That lettering has been ordered, by the way.
Any other questions for Derek?
Derek, thanks. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Enjoy your night.
We have 2 other items to go over, but we have tackled those already in the work session, the fencing and the turf maintenance. So that brings us along to time for public commentary number 1 on any items of board business. If anyone has a question regarding our personnel, finance, policy area, this would be the time to pose it. Matt, if the phone number is up there on LTV, if anybody wants to call in at this time.
You currently have 0 callers. Thank you.
Okay, we'll just move ahead, and if somebody calls in, you'll let us know.
I'm going to start personnel off. It's my pleasure this evening to introduce and recommend Dr. Kristen Turnout as the interim director of special ed. Dr. Turnout has over 20 years experience as an educational leader. She's taught special education and first grade to students, as well as teaching our future teachers, administrators, and doctoral students at several universities. She has been the interim elementary principal during a pandemic, served as the Director of Student Support Services, Director of Guidance, District-wide Testing and Educational Technology, as well as the Director of Special Education. She has worked closely with our special ed teachers and related, she will work closely with our special ed teachers and related service staff. She'll chair the CPSE and CSE meetings. She'll be the liaison to our parents, not only our students with disabilities, but those with 504 plans and those with medical needs. She has extensive experience in social and emotional learning and literacy. She'll work closely with myself and the building level administrators to help open school safely. She will assist me in determining what administration support we need in special education long-term. And her position right at this time will be part-time, averaging about 3 days a week, but of course be available by phone or email during those days that she's not physically on site. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Kristen Turnout to the community, to the Board of Education. Many of you know her. I'm looking forward to working with her.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Separate if you want.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby appoints Dr. Kristen Turnout to serve as interim special education director for the period of August 4th, 2021, rate of $700 per day, not to exceed 135 days. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome, welcome officially. Your all day today, and it's getting late this evening, so
That's okay.
appreciate it.
Actually, is this tent back here was?
That's for anybody east of the canal.
Saves on the time, saves on the
Maybe it would be good, maybe not to do this, but maybe if you could come up and then the audience, because they can't see you in the audience, so they could, yeah, just say hello to everybody. You just come around to the screen, there you go, now they can see you.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Welcome. All right.
Now I'll turn it back over to Kerry for the rest of personnel. Kerry greeted Kristen today and they worked together. So the transition will be very smooth for our parents who may have concerns. Both of them are available.
Yes, we're really throwing her in with a long day today. So hopefully she comes back on Wednesday. Can you all hear me all right? Okay, great. So C is the appointment for Dr. Turnout to chair CSE, CPSE, and 504 meetings. C is the resignation of Katie Farmer, one of our social studies teachers. She is moving out of state, so we will miss her, and good luck to your new adventure. D is the resignation of Miss Comer. She was our librarian, and she is also moving just into the city, and we wish her good luck on her new adventure. E is the amendment for Miss Girardi for summer school at an hourly rate of $45. And then F is the appointment of Miss Girardi for part-time school nurse at $45 an hour. So she is not leaving us. She will continue to help and support us. G is the appointment of Miss Gurney, part-time school nurse. So she will come back as well to help us out. As you know, there is a shortage of nurses. So both of them, just like during the pandemic, stepped up, and they're stepping up again to help us out to open the school safely. H is substitute Christy Lamonda for summer school. She helped us out for a few days. I is the appointment of Mr. Haberman as a teaching assistant probationary appointment. We are short teaching assistants, so if anybody has their teaching assistant certification, I'm plugging now, please send your resume to me. And then we have Jay as a leave replacement of Miss Murray as a teaching assistant, and she will become what our resolution for K, appointment as a reading teacher leave replacement. So we're excited to have Miss Murray be a reading teacher for a little bit, and then she'll go back into teaching assistant. Are there any questions from the board?
Let's do this and then we'll talk about it.
We have Miss.
I know we have Ms. Farmer here. It'd be nice to.
Yeah, could we just approve this and then we'll.
Okay, sure.
Move personnel items B through K to consent agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Sorry, Miss Farmer, I did not know if you were still on.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you for being with us this evening. Very bittersweet. It's you are also offered a new adventure, like Carrie, just to your side there. But so we wish you all the best, and thank you for all your service to the school. It's you know, I'm actually thinking about all the projects that are in the library right now, all those cool things that you used to do with the kids. Yeah, you'll definitely be very missed here.
Yeah, Katie, Ms. Wall, as I always called you. I want to thank you for being here too. You know, it's funny, Casey was a student here, and when she first semester in college said she wants to be a school teacher, which really took me off the case of being a school teacher because I couldn't see it. And I said to her, what made you decide to do that? And your name was the name that came up. She said, Miss Palmer is a teacher. And she said, you really showed out education, and Josh as well. But Katie, you were like, she said, the way you taught with her, you really wanted to be a teacher. And I wanted to share that because when she said, wow, it's pretty cool, you know. So thanks for everything you did. You know, hopefully she has a good career in teaching as you do. Thanks.
Thank you. That really means a lot. Of course, it's going to be bittersweet because Springs definitely is my family, and I have a great team, and I love working with them. But I had to make a decision about whether or not to stay or to be closer to a family. So after a year of COVID and not being able to see them, I had to make the decision to be closer to family. But I'm definitely going to miss my Springs family and all my students and everybody I work with. It's been such a pleasure to be part of the community.
Good luck. Thank you. Thank
You'll
you
do
for
well.
everything.
Good luck, Katie. Good luck, Katie.
Thanks, Katie.
Great addition to us.
I'll see you in town.
Okay, Mike, moving on to finance items.
Yeah, okay. Finance item number A is the electrical service for the handicap lifts in the gymnasium, old gym, and the new lift by the old music room. BVS was able to whittle that down quite a bit, down to about, using the allowance, about $3,000 of the allowance. No, 6,000. Well, remember, it was originally a lot higher, and they whittled it down for us.
Yeah, it's like 6,500, I think.
Yeah, 6730. I think that's the right number.
67.
Item B is the refurbishing of the wooden sign. The only thing is I don't have a dollar amount for that here.
Mike, we have to make,
decided on that.
we have to make a decision on that. I don't know if the board is ready to do that, but the estimate that was attached to the agenda had 3 different options. Julie, correct me if I'm wrong on these, please, because I know you spoke with Ocean Graphics. But one is a carved-out sign. That's the most expensive item with the paint warranty for 10 years. Gold leaf option on top of that for another $900. There. The basic PVC $955, where you can update the current sign, which is a little labor intensive, for about $1,075. All of these include moving, lettering off, painting and sanding, prime, and putting it back up on the wall for us.
The color sign was donated by which class, 85? It was donated by one of the classes.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I see what parent, I don't know what shape it's in. That's fine the way it is. And having the sign in the school, really, because it shows the character of, so, and we do a lot outside
Something similar on that wall that we're doing on the new front?
Yeah, I'm just thinking out, and do something with that sign, like we're taking the wall out of the music room, we'll put it at the front of the building. Is there some way to incorporate that sign in the building? Maybe in the gymnasium or something like that, the existing sign?
I'll work with BDS.
And that's something, if we get it down, how bad a shape is it really in?
I'll work with John Longer when he puts that on Wednesday.
But I mean, one of the things you always like is having heritage in this school. Like we're looking to get the flag labeled, that's out there. Anything else on all the things you found in the school during the demolition?
Well, that's an interesting idea, because if we decide to move it indoors, then maybe refurbishing what's there wood is a good option rather than, doing it in PVC or.
Right, I wouldn't replace it with the same sign. I wouldn't replace it with PVC because I think the trauma of that sign, it came from a class of 85. I think it's 85.
Yeah.
It came from a class. It was donated by a class, just like the benches and everything else around school. It's not just a simple object, but we'll replace it. So.
So we'll table
That's
this
my
and I'll get you more information.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike.
Okay, item C is the donation of a Canon IPF 760 printer with an estimated value of $2,000. It came from John J. Hummel, John Hummel and Kevin Hummel, Brendan Brew, and Bruce Rambold. Item D is the field lining services using the robotic field liner. Item E is an agreement with Omni for the 457 plans. Currently, we had a couple of people that had 457 plans that they got into outside of using Omni. Omni is our third-party administrator. So we want to incorporate the 457 plans, just like we do with the 403B plans, into the Omni family, and Omni will manage it as a third-party administrator. And that's it for the items, the finance items.
Mike, I have one more. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, I have one more. It's a donation of gymnastics equipment. It didn't show up on the agenda. It's $1,500 in gymnastics equipment that was donated from John Cushman, who is a community member. It's a balance beam and an adjustable high bar.
High bar or parallel bars?
Adjustable high bar.
High bar.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a donation.
John King's access to it, we're not taking delivery of it until, of course, we're ready. The balance is one that's adjustable, so it could be used for balance. I don't know what the adjustable high bar looks like, but John King had asked to consider it. That's where it came from.
Just worried about the liability that comes.
A lot of schools did away with gymnastics equipment because of that liability.
Julie, do I need to read the JBR resolution by
No,
itself?
you could if we're gonna table the sign item, we can leave that off of it and we can just approve items A, C, D, E, and then I can do a walk-on item for the donation, or we can table that.
Yeah.
All right, we'll table that. So you can just do an approval for A, C, D, and E for finance items.
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We had policy items this month. We have our district school safety plan and our revamped code of character. There's a 30-day public.
Going to do a public hearing on August 23rd. That gives our community, parents, teachers a chance to read both public hearing with additional comments before we go to print and before the board adopts. But tonight, both Josh Oden and Christine Cleary will just highlight some of the changes to these plans.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. So the School Safety Act 2000 mandates that every school district has a district-wide school safety plan and a school safety team. And we have that, we've had that for many years. They also, because we're a one school district, they also mandate that we have a building level emergency response plan. So the difference between the two plans is that the district-wide plan is more of broad concepts, policies, and procedures, and it outlines strategies rather than provides details, whereas the building level emergency response plan provides all the details and protocols for responding to an incident. The district-wide plan is for public consumption, so after your consideration, it will be posted on the website for 30 days for public commentary, and then it will be adopted. And we work with a team of agencies, whether it be police department, fire department, the East Hampton Town Emergency Services. We have talked to BOCES about the plan. We've had the fire marshal here looking at the new part of the building, and we have a board member that's on the committee. So it's a well-rounded committee, and the whole purpose of it is to be prepared for any sort of an incident and have protocols in place to respond and mitigate the damages associated with that incident. So that's what you're looking at tonight for your first read. And if you have any questions, the biggest change between last year and the year before is obviously the pandemic plan. There was a change or an amendment to the law in March of last year that said that we had to be prepared for any sort of pandemic or New York state of emergency, if you will, regarding communicable diseases. So we got that in a very, fast and furious manner over the last year and a half. And so what you'll see in the plan this year, though, is that it's called pandemic. It's not really called COVID-19. It's not specifically allotted for as COVID-19. So it's really can be applied to any communicable disease or any school shutdown. And again, your plan that you're looking at, the district-wide one, is for public consumption, so it's very vague. It's basically a framework. Any questions? No? Oh, okay. Moving on. So the code of conduct, Mr. Odom and I were able to go to an information workshop on new procedures with codes of conduct across the United States, but mainly in New York State. So the main difference with code of conduct is that we are leaning more towards restorative practices now. Schools are getting away from zero tolerance policies because, studies and research have shown that kids really don't benefit from zero tolerance, but they do benefit from more social emotional approaches to discipline. That doesn't mean there's not consequences for actions or violations to the code of conduct, but it does mean that it is paired with restorative practices such as making amends to the victim, rebuilding trust in relationships that were impaired, and basically becoming a responsible community member and learning from mistakes. We're in the business of educating kids, and that's one of the ways we can continue to educate them when they make a mistake or they violate an expectation, is to really address the restorative practices. We'd like to get training for many of our staff members on restorative practices. Things like restorative circles and victim assistance and letter writing and mediated discussions. We do a lot of that, but there's a common language that I think we're missing. I know that Mr. Odom has had official training in restorative practices. And if you want to speak to it a little bit, as far as it being formalized, we have been doing that, I think, with good intentions, but it hasn't been really formalized yet in our code of conduct. So we're looking to do that with this code of conduct.
Sure, and I think the big thing with like restorative implementation is upon reviewing your previous code of conduct, many of these strategies were already in place. And when I was able to go for training, sometimes it's called restorative justice, restorative practice, restorative interventions, there's lots of different names for it. One of the things I encouraged was that this kind of be a bottom-up approach. So you want your disciplinary problems happen all the time in the classroom. And therefore, if teachers are equipped with these strategies and how to mitigate problems, how to heal wrongdoing, maybe that's been done between two students or student to teacher or whatever the relationship is kind of in reach there. It is really beneficial for them to have those strategies in place so that they can mend those relationships, since that's kind of the first step in education is relationship building. So that would be a suggestion for me, is to enable some teachers, and you could turnkey that out to the rest of the school. Once they've had that training, that's a great way to do it, through committees. But it is very beneficial for teachers to be ready. It's not just like an administrative, you have one disciplinarian within the school. I think that's kind of an outdated approach at this point, when the whole school community works together to keep people within the community. I think that's a valuable lesson for kids.
And is there a kind of training that you have in mind, or is it going to happen here, to go somewhere?
It can happen either way. BOCES has some very comprehensive restorative practice trainings that we've been looking into. There's no dates yet, so we will keep you posted. And we, would hope that we could support some of our teachers to get some formal training in it.
Most districts are going this route.
Yeah.
The focus is really on looking at ways to solve problems instead of being punitive. Mm-hmm. And it's also looking at developing reasonable, responsible, and reliable consequences for kids, so they can still grow and learn from their choices instead of feeling like they're being punished.
Right. It very much is aligned with our SEL practices and also with growth mindset, which we try to instill in the kids. So, we're excited about it. I'm excited that Mr. Odom has had the formal training. He can teach me, and we can, kind of spearhead this movement, if you will, in our district, and it'll benefit the kids. No. Exciting time.
Great, thank you very much.
Sure. We covered the last item up front during our workshop on the CDC guidance. For anybody listening in from the community, I have attached several files that we were referred to tonight, the guidance from the CDC, the guidance from the Pediatric Association, and school reopening from the federal government and CDC. Even if I have anything from Suffolk County, I will be sure to share that with you.
Right, and now, sorry, the reopening, whatever we decide on the reopening plan, is that something that we have to vote on as a resolution?
23rd, yes. The board has to adopt it, and then it has to be posted. And as I said, I think I have a format that the board's going to like. As soon as I have something drafted, I will send it to the board to look at.
Great. Anybody have any questions about that right now? Okay. Time for public commentary number 2. If anybody has a question or concern to bring it to the board at this time, the number is up there on LTV. And if anyone in the audience. Matt, how many callers do we have?
Approximately 0.
That sounds like a definite competition.
Okay. Well, on that note then, I think we've wrapped things up for this evening. And are we ready to wrap it up? Okay. Then that, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Everybody, thanks a lot, Matt, LTV, appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Good night, Carrie.